You prisoners of New South Wales, who frequent watchhouses and jails, a story to you I will tell. 'Tis a convict's tour of hell. Whose valor had for years been tried on the highway before he died. At length, he fell to death a prey, but to him it proved a happy day. Downwards he bent his course, I'm told, like one destined for Satan's fold. And no refreshment would he take, till he approached the Stygian lake. A tent he then began to fix, continuous to the river Styx. Thinking that no one could molest him, he leapt when Charon thus addressed him. Stranger, I say, from whence art thou? And my own name, pray tell me now. Kind sir, I come from Sydney jail. My name I don't mean to conceal. But since you seem so anxious to know it, on earth I was called Frank the poet. Are you that person? Charon cried. Oh, I'll carry you to the other side. 5 or 6pence I mostly charge for the like passage on my barge. So stranger, do not troubled be, for you shall have a passage free. Frank, seeing no other succor nigh, with the invitation did comply. And having a fair wind and tide, they soon arrived at the other side. And leaving Charon at the ferry, Frank went in haste to purgatory. And rapping loudly at the gate of limbo, or the middle state, Pope Pius VII soon appeared, with gowns, beads, crucifix, and beard. And gazing at the poet the while, accosts him in the following style. Stranger, art thou a friend or foe? Your business here I fain would know. Quoth the poet, for heaven I'm not fitted, for it's here I hope to be admitted. Pius rejoined, vain are your hopes. This place was made for priests and popes. 'Tis a world of our own invention. But friend, I've not the least intention to admit such a foolish elf who scarce knows how to bless himself. Quoth Frank, were you mad or insane when you first made this world of pain? For I can see naught but fire, a share of which I can't desire. Here I see weeping, wailing, and gnashing, and torments of the newest fashion. Therefore I call you, silly elf, who made a rod to whip himself. And may you, like all honest neighbors, enjoy the fruit of all your labors. Frank then bid the Pope farewell, and hurried to that place called hell. And having found the gloomy gate, Frank rapped aloud to know his fate. He louder knocked and louder still. When the devil came, pray, what's your will? Alas, cried the poet, I've come to dwell with you and share your fate in hell. Says Satan, that can't be, I'm sure, for I detest and hate the poor. And none shall in my kingdom stand except the grandees of the land. But Frank, I think you're going astray, for convicts never come this way, but soar to heaven in droves and legions, a place so called in upper regions. So Frank, I think with an empty purse, you shall go further and far worse. Well, cried the poet, since 'tis so, one thing of you I'd like to know. As I'm at present in no hurry, Have you one here called Captain Murray? Yes, Murray is within this place. Would you, said Satan, see his face? May God forbid I should view him, for on board the Phoenix Hulk I knew him. Who is that, sir, in yonder blaze, who on fire and brimstone seems to gaze? 'Tis Captain Logan of Moreton Bay, and Williams, who was killed the other day. He was overseer at Groat's farm, and done poor convicts no little harm. Cook, who discovered New South Wales, and he that first invented jails, are both tied to a fiery stake, which stands in yonder boiling lake. Hark, do you hear this dreadful yelling? It issues from Dr. Wardle's dwelling. And all those fiery seats and chairs are fitted up for dukes and mayors, and nobles of judicial orders, barristers, lawyers, and recorders. Here I beheld legions of traitors, hangmen, jailers, and flagellators, commandants, constables, and spies, informers, and overseers likewise. In flames of brimstone they were toiling, in lakes of sulphur round them boiling. Hell did resound with their fierce yelling. Alas, how dismal was their dwelling. Then Major Morisset I espied, and Captain Clooney by his side. With a fiery belt they were lashed together, as tight as soles to upper leather. Their situation was most horrid, for they were tyrants down at the Norrid. Prostrate I beheld a petitioner. It was the company's commissioner. Satan said he, my days are ended. For many years I've superintended the A& Company's affairs, and I punctually paid all arrears. Sir, should you doubt the hopping colonel at Carrington, you'll find my journal, legibly penned in black and white, to prove that my accounts were right. And since I've done your will on earth, I hope you'll put me in the berth. Then I saw old Sergeant Flood. In Vulcan's hottest forge he stood. He gazed at me, his eyes with ire appeared like burning coals of fire. In fiery garments he was arrayed, and like an Arabian horse he brayed. He on a cutlass leaned, and to a lamppost he was chained. He loudly called out for assistance, or begged me to end his existence. Cheer up, said I, be not afraid. Remember number 3 stockade? In course of time you may do well, if you behave yourself in hell. Your heart on earth was fraught with malice, with oft drove convicts to gallows. But now you'll atone for all the blood of prisoners shed by Sergeant Flood. Then I beheld that well-known trapman, the policeman runner called Izzy Chapman. Here he was standing on his head in a river of melted, boiling lead. Alas, he cried, behold me, stranger, I've captured many a bold bushranger, and for the same I'm suffering here. But lo, now yonder snakes draw near. On turning round I saw slow worms and snakes of various kinds and forms, all entering at his mouth and nose, to devour his entrails, I suppose. Then turning round to go away, bold Lucifer bade me to stay. Saint Frank, by no means go, man, till you see your old friend Dr. Bowman. yonder he tumbles, groans, and gnashes. He gave you many 1,000 lashes. And for the same he does bewail, for Oscar, with an iron flail, thrashes him well, and you may depend, and will, till world comes to an end. Just as I spoke, a coach and four came in full post haste to the door, and about 6 feet of mortal sin, without leave or license, trudged right in. At his arrival 3 cheers were given, which rend, I'm sure, the highest heaven. And all the inhabitants of hell, with one consent, rang the great bell, which never was heard to sound or ring since Judas sold our heavenly King. Drums were beating, flags were hoisting. There never before was such rejoicing. Dancing, singing, joy and mirth, in heaven above or on the earth. Straightway to Lucifer I went, to know what these rejoicings meant. Of sense, cried Lucifer, I'm deprived, since Governor Darling has arrived. With fire and brimstone I've ordained him, and Vulcan has already chained him. And I'm going to fix an abode for Captain Rossi, he's on the road. Frank, don't go till you see the novice, the magistrate from the police office. Oh, said the poet, I'm satisfied to hear that he is to be tied and burned in this world of fire. I think it is high time to retire. And having travelled many days o'er fiery hills and boiling seas, or on the earth, that happy place where all the woes of mortals cease. And rapping loudly at the wicket, cried Peter, where's your certificate? Or if you had not one to show, pray, and who in heaven do you know? Well, I know brave Donahue, young Troy and Jenkins too, and many others whom floggers mangled, and lastly were by Jack Ketch strangled. Peter says, Jesus, let Frank in, for he is thoroughly purged from sin. And although in convict's habit dressed, here he shall be welcomed as a guest. Isaiah, go with him to Job, and put him in a scarlet robe. St. Paul, go to the flock straight away, and kill the fatted calf today. And go tell Abraham and Abel, in haste now to prepare the table, for we shall have a grand repast, since Frank the poet has come at last. Then came Moses and Elias, John the Baptist and Matthias, with many saints from foreign lands, and with the poet they all joined hands. Through heaven's concave their rejoicings rang, and hymns of praise to God they sang. And as they praised his glorious name, I awoke and found 'twas but a dream.